Welcome back, everyone, in War Eagle. My name is Eddie Orantes, and I'm the Director of Business Operations for the Office of Alumni Affairs at Auburn University. For the next 30 minutes, your host of 18 minutes and 56 seconds, the Auburn Alumni Association Speaker Series. We started our first show back in April with Dr. Damian McIntosh when he talked to us about smart money management during COVID. Remember that? And now we're on our 23rd show. Thank you for staying with us and continuing to support us through this programming. You can find all of our shows by going to aub.ie/1856 series. We want to continue to hear from you. So please ask your questions and interact by leaving comments on our Facebook page, and we'll do our best to answer them in the half hour that we have together. Our last show of 2020, that's what this is. And our 1856 team will give you a behind the scenes look into how we run the show, as well as talk about our favorite moments from 2020. So today, I have the honor of introducing the team to you. Colin Matten, Amy Pope, and Todd Deary. Welcome to the show. It's kind of fun having you guys in here with me. Let me do this. Todd is the Assistant Director of Alumni Communications and Marketing, and he serves as the Technical Director for the show. He's the perfect person to tell us about the history and naming of 1856 Speaker Series. So Todd, please tell us a little bit about this history.
Sure. I think Amy can attest to this. When COVID hit and doing in-person events became impossible, or certainly impossible to foresee, we tried to come up with an idea of could we do some kind of online speaker series, and our teams got together here in the Alumni Association and we started talking about what that would look like and what that would feel like, and who we could get, kind of all the things that your brain would sort of go to. How would we do it? We didn't have the answers, of course, to any of those things. And when it was decided we were going to definitely do one, the kind of next step was, what format would it take? What would the name of it be? And that's kind of where, I got to work and got really involved. So I went back and started thinking about the show. And one of the things I was sort of focused on, since it was going to be a web series, was the length of it. I didn't want it to be too long. I wanted to give people a really nice introduction to an idea, educate and inform somebody, but what are we going to do? And so then I came up with the idea of the kind of 18 minutes and 56 seconds after Auburn's founding date. And once that idea kind of hit, I think it helped really everybody. It certainly did me, just kind of create the outline for the show and the form for the show. So then we knew the show would be roughly 19 minutes long. You may have a few more minutes for Q&A, that kind of thing. And really that's what the show kind of became. So, my main contribution was really coming up with that just sort of initial structure of it, and the naming of it. And then of course, Amy and her team took it and made it so much better.
Well, it's exciting because I do work with an amazing group. You guys are very talented. And so when the show was first presented and the idea of going virtual came to be, the name was fitting and it was exciting to see just where it would go. So to think that we're 23 shows later and it's still doing as well as it is, a lot of it is attributed to the way that you put it together. So thank you, Todd. Now, Amy is a programs coordinator for alumni engagement. She does an amazing job of flawlessly coordinating our shows while managing scheduling and logistics. So for Amy, for you, I'd like to ask this question. Why is virtual programming so important at this time for the Auburn Alumni Association?
Oh gosh, well, typically we're doing in-person events, and when we went into, quarantine, we weren't able to do that. So it was really important for my team to figure out how we can continue to engage our alumni. I mean, that's a goal in our strategic plan, is to, make sure we're increasing meaningful engagement to our alumni. And so how are we going to do that when we can't do anything in person? So, like Todd said, our teams really, collaborated well, and we were able to figure out a way to bring, we have so many amazing alumni out there that have done just such incredible things. And we were able to bring them to this huge audience, an audience that when we do our normal events doesn't even get close to the numbers that we're able to engage with this virtual format. So, we've engaged almost 60,000 alumni and friends during this time. Awesome. And it's just incredible. And so it's been really kind of a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, I completely
I think it was
agree.
funny, Eddie, real quick. I think it was funny when Amy and I and all of us sitting here were first starting to talk about the show and we were thinking about alumni. We were all thinking initially like local people because we were so used to having to get people to Auburn. And then it was like, well, wait a minute, we can pick an alum from anywhere. They can be anywhere in the world. And it's just as easy as if they're sitting here in Lee County. So it took us a day or two to kind of recalibrate who we were thinking about and who, we kind of wanted on the show. And then that opened up obviously a huge world for the guests that we brought in.
It's exciting. We brought in a new addition to this team, and that's Colin the Magic Man. So he recently joined the team, and he's produced so much for this show. He works on the technical side of the show. So Colin, tell us a little bit about yourself, and what does it take to produce this by way of the technical side in the show?
Like Eddie said, my name's Colin. I came on about halfway through the beginning of the show. I work as kind of like the technical director behind the scenes, making the graphics for the show and making sure that everything runs smoothly so that we can have just like a clean looking show, I guess. Everything looks right. So if anything goes wrong, it's probably my fault. So you can all write me messages in the comments about how terrible of a job I'm doing.
I'm glad we got that straight.
Yeah. No, listen, Colin, you are the Magic Man. Just keep that in mind. You're doing a wonderful job. So thank you so much for doing what you do for us. When we got together, we talked about how to finish the year and decided that highlighting some of our favorite shows is probably the best approach. And so that's what we're going to be doing in a short minute. We're going to go ahead and introduce some of our favorite shows and play some of those clips. And I'd like to start, if you guys don't mind. My first pick was when we interviewed Avi back in June. Man, he lights the place up, no matter where he is. And so we knew we had to bring him to the show. We just didn't know how that was going to go. However, he didn't disappoint. And at the end, he taught us a dance. So that's what this clip is.
So do y'all want to try it one more time without the music? Okay, so it goes, feeling good, snap, like I should. And then you went and took a walk around the neighborhood. Woo! Feeling blessed. And then there we go. Do y'all want to try it with the music and dance with Avi?
Let's do this.
All right, here we go.
Hey, feeling good, like I should. When in the walk around the neighborhood. Feeling blessed, never.
I think we had a lot of kids viewing that show.
That was a hugely anxiety-inducing show for me. I don't know about y'all, but I just kept thinking we're interviewing something that does not speak. Like I couldn't get myself sort of past that particular problem. Like who has a show where they bring somebody on that can't talk? That's a talk show essentially. I mean, it's like who does that? But it really worked out. Really worked out well.
And even though he doesn't talk, he spoke a lot. It was great. It was a wonderful opportunity to see that engagement that he has. Again, very charismatic, and he knows exactly how to drive the point home. So it was a blast. Love that show.
Amy, don't you feel like, Amy, that was like one of the shows that had the most like upfront work because we had to figure out sort of how to do the format of the show and how that was going to run?
Oh yeah, we did a lot of preparing for that show and what questions we were going to ask Avi and how we were going to shoot Avi and where we were going to shoot Avi. And yes, but I thought it was great. Not everybody gets to see Avi a lot. And if you live on the other side of the country from here and you don't make it back to a football game or a basketball game, you might not get to see Avi. And this was a fun way, for everybody to enjoy him. And there was a lot of people that, had comments and questions and shout outs to Avi. So, and I think there was a lot of kids that participated in that one, which I thought was neat.
That was one of the cool things was after the show, the week after the show, I remember seeing videos all over social media of like kids dancing along in front of a computer, watching that episode. So that was really, I think it was one of our highest viewed shows as well.
Yeah. And I mean, gosh, TikTok took off like crazy during the pandemic. So it was just fun to see him, doing a TikTok dance.
So Avi, if you're watching, thank you. That was awesome. The second favorite show, a top pick for me, was the most recent one that we did with Chef J-Rob. So he graduated from Auburn in 2016 with a bachelor's in biomedical sciences, but he tapped into his culinary skills while on campus, and he's become a culinary celebrity. In this scene, he takes mac and cheese to another level. Yeah, I come home making stuff like this.
So what I'm gonna do now is just make a nice presentation. I want to do some sharp cheddar running down the middle, like so. And then on the outsides, I'm gonna layer it with that cheddar jack cheese. And don't be afraid, get in there. Make sure you get all those edges because we want that nice cheese crust on the outside as well. I'm gonna go ahead and top it off with some parsley. Boom. You did all the hard work and now it's time for the easy part. Finish it off in your Traeger smoke until it has a nice melted cheese crust. Or if you don't have time, you want to pop it in the oven underneath the broil for every bit of 2 minutes until it has a nice golden crust. Whatever suits your fancy, but all I know is this right here. It's gonna be amazing.
You've got these on your website as well, right?
I do.
Fresh and hot off the press.
Wow, look at that.
Chef J-Rob's Mac Attack. Goodness gracious. Goodness gracious.
Makes me wish I had actually eaten breakfast this morning.
Let me throw the glove and let me throw the other mitt in, because that right there, that is beautiful. Guys, a super simple 7-step recipe. Takes every bit of 15 to 25 minutes. Just depending on how quick you move in the kitchen. And this is gonna be a family favorite.
Look, you can cook like that, you can throw the glove. So that's
I'm
what I'm trying to get
starving.
to. That was a fun show too.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that must have
He's
been.
great. He was on for our Black Alumni Weekend, and we had so many, great comments about his piece and what he cooked, and he was just a natural to come on and do that for us. He's a mover and a shaker in Atlanta. He's got a great Auburn story, and he was definitely one of my favorites too.
I mean, the thing that stuck with me on that show was that he had a degree in biomedical sciences and then went and got a master's, and then was like at the point where you think he's definitely going to go in that direction because that's where all his education was, and he was just like, no, I'm gonna become a chef. It's like what courage it took for him to do that, and of course it's turned out to be a great
Courage. Yeah, and the exciting thing is that the show brings out the innate in every person, right? And so he was one of those examples of an individual that truly followed his passion, and his future is bright. The man's engaged now. It's wonderful. So I'm glad he was willing to join us. All right, who's next here? Colin, tell us a little bit about your top picks.
All right, so my first top pick, I think it's a lot of people's top pick. Actually, as I see right now, Dave Gamble just posted that this is also one of his from the previous shows. It's from our Tiger Nation Challenge episode with David Housel and Jimmy Manessa from LSU. And there's not really much I have to say about this. David Housel just has some choice words about how we're going to handle LSU before the game. So here we go.
And there's several individuals who want to know about predictions. So let's talk about this coming game.
We're going to kick their ass. Ass is in the Bible, King James Version, so saying ass is not cussing. I don't know who's going to win. I hope Auburn's going to win, but hell, I don't know. What do you think, Jimmy?
I think y'all got a shot, but it's just a tiny shot. LSU's
We
been
got a shot. You talking about a shot of whiskey or a shot at winning the game?
You're gonna need a shot of whiskey afterwards to drown your sorrows.
Those two, their relationship, the dynamic between them, and the history that they have made it so that you can have that interaction. It was classic. It was wonderful.
That was certainly the moment, Colin, I'm so glad you picked that one, because that was certainly the moment where I laughed the hardest at any of the shows. Like that particular moment when he leans in and says that, I couldn't compose myself. I was just dying laughing. For every time I watch it, it's like the first time I've seen it again, because it just makes me laugh so hard. And Eddie, you did such a good job of that show of bringing them both out, because they're both incredible historians, of LSU and Auburn, and have so much history. And you did a really nice job, I thought, of getting them to talk about their connection and kind of how they fit into the ethos of both schools really well.
Yeah, they make it easy. They have a lot to share. Didn't they make a comment, something about comparing themselves to other commentators?
Yeah,
What was that, Colin?
after the show, they were still on the call with each other, and I can't remember which one of them said it. They might have both said it at the same time. I don't know. They both agreed, but they said that their commentating was just like Shaq and Charles talking on ESPN. It was great.
It's funny.
That's right. All right. What was your second pick?
My second pick is from the show with Chloe Milas. She is a CNN entertainment reporter, and in this clip she talks about how some of the things that she went through as a student here at Auburn, as a CLA student here at Auburn, that I really identified with, and just a lot of things that I think that it can inspire a lot of younger students that might be going through the same things here at Auburn.
There was a guy named Billy Ferris there who was a part of Eagle Eye. He's now an advisor, but he was a student. He was really encouraging and just really great. And then Rick Smith is still there, and he was my advisor. He taught some of my classes, and he was just always just so comforting and encouraging. I was not a straight A student. I had a lot of interests, and I loved going to parties and going to football games. And it wasn't just about academics for me. And I had a really well-rounded experience at Auburn. But I think that when it came time for my internship, I was blissfully ignorant. When I started applying to internships in New York, I had no idea how competitive it was going to be. And I was just encouraged from the beginning by people like Rick Smith, go for it, go to New York. And so when I went to Rick and told him that I had to get out of some classes to go to New York in a few days for my interview for an internship at Comedy Central, he was like, do they normally do in-person interviews? I was like, well, no, they don't. But I told them I'm going to be in New York next week. So I asked for an in-person meeting. And look, I think that going to Auburn, sometimes you feel like you have to, this is just me, right? I've always felt like I've had to, just in my life in general, had to prove myself, had to kind of, go the extra mile to kind of say, like, elbow my way into the seat at the table, whether it's preconceived notions of being from the South or maybe not going to, an Ivy League university or something like that. I'm very proud of where I come from, but kind of leaning in more has helped get me to where I needed to be. And of course, Rick helped me and spoke to teachers with me, and my mom was cool about it. And I flew to New York for 24 hours and landed my internship, and kind of the rest is history. But that was how I got to New York. So
such great stories.
It is a great story.
She was our third host, or we hosted her as a third show. And I remember being so nervous because here I'm interviewing somebody that does interviews for a living. So that's a great way to kind of break it. And she made it so easy. I think really she set the bar for the way that these shows were gonna go. And it's just so grateful that she was willing to participate.
Yeah, like I said, one of the main things that I just liked is it first of all, everything she said still holds true. Rick Smith is still there. He's still great. He's encourages a lot of students to really follow their dreams. You know, and it just feels like there is a stigma, maybe not against a stigma against people in CLA, people who get liberal arts degrees, that you can't find good jobs when you graduate. And you know, think people like her are just testaments that that's not true. You can find great jobs, especially coming out of Auburn's College of Liberal Arts.
Absolutely. Well said. Well said. Thank you, Colin. Amy, tell us about yours, please.
Okay, so my first favorite is Krista Cotton. And Krista Cotton is a 2010 business grad and founded a company in 2017 called New Orleans Beverage Group, where she holds a trademark to El Guapo, which is a line of cocktail bitters and syrups and mixers, and it's all based out of New Orleans. I was actually introduced to her back in the summer when we did a virtual conference, and she did special cocktail boxes that we sent to all our conference attendees, and we actually made a drink with her. And so we kind of thought, oh my gosh, this was so much fun, and she's so great to work with. Let's bring her into 1856. And it's one of my favorites because it was just fun to kind of break out of the mold. And Eddie, you were kind of, you know, in a new environment and mixing a drink with Krista at the same time. So this clip shows her and you making the hurricane.
Put it all out.
Okay.
So once that's done, some people want to put ice, some don't. It just kind of depends on what glass you use. I like ice in mine, so I do that. And then for the non-alcoholic version, we use club soda, any kind, Pellegrino, Spring Valley, whatever you like. And we fill it to the top. And then the fun thing with mocktails or cocktails really is that garnishes are a fun thing to play around with. And there's really no rules on what to use. There's myriad options, and you can use things in your kitchen, things in your yard. If you have yard flowers, just make sure they're not poisonous first. But whatever you like. I have some dehydrated lemon and lime wheels that I like. They smell really nice, and they're beautiful in cocktails. So I tend to use those for mocktails a lot. And we actually manufacture these in our building now and sell them to different restaurants. So I use those for my cocktail. And once they're done, serve it. You're good to go.
Cheers.
Amazing. Amy, you know a whole lot of what's happened since then. So can you give us a quick update on where she is and how things are going for her?
She's rocking and rolling. She's, there's been other people on campus that have used her for things. I know the University of Alabama used her for a donor event that they had. She was also just featured in the Garden and Gun magazine 2020 Made in the South Awards, and as well as Southern Living, excuse me. So she's really taken off, and I have full faith that, you know, she will continue to do great things as she goes on. And, you know, like we said, we kind of feel like we knew her when.
Yeah. Wasn't that our first, was that our first sort of demo show where we had to actually,
yes,
you know, like do something, like have Eddie doing something along with, because
yes.
there was a lot of practice to make that show even work as well as it did. And Eddie was such a good sport and ended up pulling it off really, really well, I thought. But there was a lot of behind the scenes stuff to make that show happen, for sure. Getting all the equipment and getting the tables set up, and
ice and the tables, and make sure all the cocktail stuff was there, and we knew what we were doing. I think we did a run through with her too, didn't we?
We did.
Before,
yeah.
And I think also the other nice thing of that is we all walked away with a little special gift from Krista that we're still enjoying. So that was nice.
Absolutely true. She has made me famous among my friends because that's all I know how to prepare now, those drinks, and they're delicious.
They are. She's amazing. And so my second clip is Kenneth Reese. He's a great guy, student at Auburn, first Black State Ambassador President in Alabama 4-H history. He's a freshman this year. And we had him on with Joyce Scott, who is a 4-H leader and citizenship specialist. And in the clip that we're about to see, he's speaking about the impact that 4-H has had on him and how it's kind of molded and directed where he's going in his life. And the part that I really like too about it is he gives his mom a lot of credit for introducing to the program and kind of giving him that push that he needed to do it. So We'll hear Kenneth talk about that.
I've been a 4-H for 9 years. I was very, very shy when I first got into 4-H. And like I said earlier, you guys learned a lot more about my mom. My mom has been there with me every step of the way with 4-H. She has pushed me. She has told me, yes, Trey, you need to take advantage of every opportunity that you get. So with me being younger and me being shy, I could always remember her telling me, because she was my 4-H leader as well, I could always remember her telling me, Trey, I think you do good in this baking competition. You should do it. It came with a lot of public speaking, but also I could show off how I could cook. So I was like, let's do it. I did it. I was nervous, obviously, but ultimately I ended up coming up on top and I ended up placing first place. So I thank my mom for that, because I think that right there gave me the confidence that I needed to step out my comfort zone and keep going and keep trying new events and new programs that 4-H has to offer.
That's remarkable. Transformational stories. Can't get enough of those, right?
Yeah, he's just a great kid, and he's really a living example of the power of 4-H. I mean, and he's just, you know, I think he's just going to accomplish so many amazing things here at Auburn, and, you know, we'll probably be talking about him for the next, you know, 4+ years. So I look forward to seeing what he has in store for us.
Thank you for sharing, Amy. That's awesome. All right, we're saving the best for last. Todd, talk to us. 2 favorites and close us out.
Yeah, it was really, really hard to pick, but in July of this year, we had Ada Ruth Huntley on, and she is a current student here at Auburn, and probably a lot of alums may know who she is and know her name. She in February, I think, of 2020 was the first Black woman SGA president at Auburn. And so we had her on, and she is just such a dynamic person. And I think when the show ended, I think we all said, God, it feels like I haven't done anything in my life compared to her. And she's, you know, she's still in school. Like, her list of accomplishments and how composed she is was so impressive. But I think the thing that the show really taught all of us was that it's a family affair for her. So I think we're going to hear her talking about the legacy of her family being at Auburn. And of course, Liz Huntley is on the board of trustees, her mom, and was so accomplished while she was here as well. But I think we're going to see some of that as she talks about her family and their connection to Auburn.
So to touch on my rich Auburn family history, my dad has 6 siblings, and all of them but 2 went to Auburn. And my mother also attended Auburn. So I'm a 2nd generation Auburn student on both sides. As you can see, there's a lot of pictures coming up with my family. And this one being, so I'm a member of the Kappa Chi chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated at Auburn University. And my aunt, Deborah Huntley, was actually a charter member. So in the back left corner, you can see her there with the glasses. She helped bring this awesome chapter to Auburn and help continue a legacy of African-American women serving the community around them. So that's just one prime example. In the front middle, you will see my uncle Doug Huntley. He served on the Auburn University football team, in addition to my uncle Willie, who also served on the football team. So once again, finding another way to leave Auburn better than they found it in the world of athletics, which is really awesome that, you know, they have that legacy. This was an article that was actually done about my family having the most siblings at Auburn, which is really interesting. 5 of them were there, not all at the same time, but 5 of them did attend the university. And so it was really exciting when we were able to find this article. So very excited to share it this morning. And then this is
that is you.
That is the sweet one. So this was me with my mom after the announcement that I was going to get the opportunity to serve as SGA president. And it was a really surreal moment for the both of us. My mom was really dedicated to student leadership during her time at Auburn and actually pursued running for the title of SGA president, and unfortunately lost in a runoff. But as a result of her dedication and her leadership, it then paved the way for me to become the first. So it was a really surreal moment for it all to come back full circle.
Love those pictures.
Yeah, how neat that her mom almost won, like in a runoff, very, very close. And then, you know, Ada Ruth becomes a student at Auburn and then she wins. I mean, that is so cool. It's an amazing person. My second choice was in September. We interviewed athletic director Alan Green, and I just thought he was so impressive with all the social justice issues that were going on. and all of the work that he has to do managing such a large athletic department at a place like Auburn. I really thought that interview was fantastic that you did with him, Eddie. You did such a nice job of speaking with him and drawing him out. And I think we're going to hear a part where he really talks about the role of everybody's work here at Auburn as far as it relates to athletes and it relates to students. And I think it's still really, really poignant going forward.
What we do in our department speaks to what we need to do in our lifetime as citizens of this wonderful country. And that is embrace the differences of each other, learn about other people, challenge our own selves and our own thinkings and our own learnings, and do so as a collective unit, right? And sport is such a great educational tool because in order to be successful, you have to be a team. Even golf, which is an individual sport by and large, is that you're depending on 4 other competitors to do their jobs, to handle their responsibilities. And that's how that's how we make progress, is knowing that we each bring something different to the table and using those uniquenesses to our advantage. And that's the beautiful, that is the beautiful part. It's part the ethos of what we do, but more importantly, I think it allows us to be ourselves in an environment that allows us to add value to an overall larger picture.
Enough said. I mean, it was very, very appropriate. And like you said, very relevant.
For sure. Eddie, how did you like being host this year? It must have been, because you feel like a natural, but were you like super nervous before the first couple shows?
Absolutely. Incredibly nervous. And at the same time, very fulfilled. Because I do enjoy getting to know individuals, especially alumni, and and being inspired. So thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to host. It's been a blast, and I needed it. Got me through this. COVID.
Yeah, it's a nice way to connect.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like Tim Ellen said a great job on the show, so he definitely checked in. We had a few others that checked in. Thanks for doing that. Any other comments on the show in general? We're looking forward to 2021, but
just that we are definitely looking forward to 2021. We thank all viewers that have followed us, and we've just got more to share. So very excited.
Yeah, we're hoping to. We're still booking people out, and so we are going to definitely hope to do some stuff for coming up for Black History Month. I know we're trying to get some more administrators on the show. And have them talk about what Auburn's doing right now. If you do have a suggestion for a guest, please go to the link that Eddie shared at the very beginning, but it's aub.ie/1856. And definitely make a suggestion for that. Also make sure that we do have a best of page that is up on the screen right now. That's our best of 2020. So the staff got together and we included 1856, but you also see our favorite stories of the year, some of the alumni that we chronicled, our favorites of those. So we really appreciate it. As Amy mentioned, 60,000 plus of you have watched this show this year. That's really amazing, and we appreciate you for attending these events, and also, of course, for your donations to the Alumni Association. So I think that's it, Eddie. I want you to take us out though, because you've taken us out of all 23 shows or however many it is. So you might as well take us out of this one.
Yeah, I'll take us out. We do have a clip, if I'm not mistaken, of some additional shows that we did. But until we see you next year, please stay safe and War Eagle.
I don't want to add anything to what's already been a long, hard day. I just want to take some pressure off you and get a little bit off your plate. You take care of a lot of stuff nobody seems to appreciate. Lord knows life can sure get tough, so I think it's time we take the easy way. It's time to let the curtains down, time to turn the TV off. you can get the glasses out. And I put a good record on. It's time to stop and thank the Lord for another beautiful day.